Hey guys, it's Imran back with your crypto vol update. Let's jump across and see what's going on in crypto vol. Okay, over the week, we're seeing a big stair step down in realized volatility, right? So Bitcoin realized was sitting at around 30, has kind of dropped down to around 20. So this is pretty low realized vol, very range bound markets here. We've got positive carry now of about 10 vols in Bitcoin. You look over at ETH, we can see that actually similar story. We were sitting at around 50, 55 realized. That has dropped to in the 30s, basically, right? So really falling off a cliff. Now, in terms of the implied vols, they've actually hung in there quite well because the market's expecting a bit of movement around the FOMC this week. So positive carry on ETH is over 20 vols. So this is like a dream for the gamma sellers, right? The crypto market has just got stuck and vol has just stayed up here and the realize just isn't there. So actually, if you've had the bullets or the inclination to sell gamma on crypto, you've been doing quite well. You can see the term structures here. They are looking kind of flat to contango-y. If we look at the changes on the week, down 2-3 vols in Bitcoin across the curve. Similar sort of story there. Down a little bit less in the front on ETH, and then down about 3 vols parallel in the back on ETH there. Looking at skew, in general, we're seeing green, which means we've moved towards calls, but not into call premium. So another way we kind of can view that here is on these charts. So these are our skew charts. So we saw sort of 4 vols of negative skew. So for puts in the front on Bitcoin, that's got to about 2 now. That back end started to come up as well. But you can see, you know, all the way out to the back, we've very marginally gone back into call premium in the back. But generally, most of the curve still resides in negative on Bitcoin. So Bitcoin skew there in negative, but it has bounced a little bit towards the call side. More of a parallel shift in ETH across the entire curve. Front got to -3, back to about 1.5 now. And as you go forward into next year, that's where we go into positive for call premium. So anything past December is still in call premium on Ethereum, as you can see, suggesting that the market is somewhat more bullish on Ethereum right here, right now. You can see here, these are the open interests across expiries. Clearly a big chunk there on Bitcoin expiring on the end of September. And then similar story here, you've got a massive chunk there on Ethereum expiring. So about half the open interest there, you can see across the whole option space expiring at the end of September. And then there will be obviously fresh positioning coming in. Looking at the time series on vol, you can see here the gap between all these lines essentially says we've been in contango. The front did flip briefly above the 1 month, but it has collapsed back down again there. So you can see how the kind of thing played out over the week. Ethereum got very, very steep. Actually, front end got down there to 57. And then again, the front did bounce, but it's kind of giving it back. So similar sort of story, but the curve's a lot flatter there, as you can see on Ethereum. Skew wise, what did we see here? 1 month skew actually got down to -4, which was greater than the weeklies. But now the front end's coming in around -2, as said on Bitcoin. And then look, we were at -5.5 for puts on ETH at one point. But that's come all the way back to around 1.5. So the bounce that we've seen in ETH, even though it hasn't been too violent or too sort of convincing, let's say, it's done enough to kind of get that put skew back down to nothing too dramatic. All right, so that's where we are in terms of time series. And then if I jump over here to show you the vol spreads, remember last week saw a big move back down in the vol spread, and we've had a little bounce, nothing crazy, but you know, a little bit of a bounce there in the front on Ethereum because it's basically come off less than Bitcoin vols come off. But then if we look at the longer end Ethereum is getting hit a bit harder. So you're seeing a shift down here in the vol spread. Okay, so a bit of an inflection here where at the margin, Ethereum vol is holding up better in late September, early October expiries. But anything from November onwards is shifting lower. Ethereum longer dated vol premium coming in a bit there. And then the skew curves sitting pretty close to neutral all the way out to October, November. And then in December, we're starting to see a call bid, as mentioned previously, for Ethereum. So longer dated Ethereum bulls still intact. Front end hasn't really got a clue, sitting there at neutral. And that is basically what the vol market is saying this week. All right, short one this week. Market's obviously not doing too much. FOMC is probably going to be the next main market mover, and we'll have a look again to see how that transpires next week. I'll catch you then.
Hi everyone, thanks for making it to the end of the video. Remember, this is just a little taster of what we do at Options Insight. To get access to all our research, including my in-depth vol market insights, flows and positioning report, and my portfolio trades, and a whole lot more, you can sign up at options-insight.com. I'll see you soon.